Hi everyone, so I identify as lesbian and my pronouns are she and her. So in terms of the mainstream media, I think LGBT representative is important firstly for LGBT people to see themselves, but also, as cheesy as this sounds, I think representation normalizes things. You know, the more you see something, the more you stop seeing it as an anomaly, the more you stop seeing it as something that is unnatural. So if we have more LGBT representation in mainstream media, I think it will help change the general outlook of, how LGBT people are perceived. And it might even lead to just a greater general acceptance, so where LGBT people will feel safer out in public, and there'll be less instances of homophobic violence. And in terms of being a writer, everything I do is for the LGBT community. Everything I write is about the Black lesbian experience specifically. And by that, I don't just mean people who identify as lesbian, but women who find themselves in relationships with other women, because it's very different. It's very different to how a heterosexual couple would be in society, or how a gay relationship where it's a man would function in society. So yeah, definitely. So I have read up a bit on, the LGBT movement and, liberation for the LGBT community. And within understanding that framework, I know that queer is a slur that people within the LGBT community can reclaim for themselves. But my issue with it is that I don't think it should be used as an umbrella term, simply because there are places in the world where queer is still being used as a negative thing towards LGBT people. And also just, I think we went wrong in naming our theory queer theory and giving straight people access to that word, because then it kind of nullifies the whole purpose of it. And I also just believe that as a lesbian personally, the word queer doesn't really serve me because it doesn't really speak to my experience. Whereas if I say, oh, I'm a lesbian woman, you know everything you need to know about me. Whereas with queer, there's still questions of, oh, okay, well, queer in what sense? Who are you sexually romantic to? Sexually attracted to? Who are you romantically attracted to? So I'm okay with people reclaiming it for themselves, and if people say you can refer to me as queer, I'll call them that. But I have issues with people then looking at me and saying, oh, okay, you're a queer woman, because I'm definitely not. It's not a level I'm comfortable with. So yeah. So one of the things I definitely think should be spoken more about within the LGBT community, at least something that I think affects me personally, is just how there are abusive people within our community, that you can be in a lesbian relationship, whereas as in you can be in a relationship with another woman as a woman, and it can be toxic, it can be abusive, the person can be manipulative. As much as we all talk about how patriarchy is horrible, men dominate women, men are trash, which is all true, we never really sit and talk about how there are instances of power imbalances within lesbian relationships, and that being a woman doesn't absolve you of, being toxic if that's who you are. And I just think there's not much of a platform for women who've been abused by other women to really talk about it. And don't even get me started on sexual assault. I think if someone went to talk about how, oh hey, I've been sexually assaulted by another woman, people would look at you and be like, how? So I definitely think there has to be more room for us to talk about our experiences with one another within the community.